Write a program to display employee name and salaries working in department number 10. How to write this program, Dilavar? I want to write a program to display all the employee names and salaries working for department number 10.
Yeah. Begin.
How many employee names are there working for department number 10? 3 employee names. I want to display all the 3 employee names. Begin. Select.
Begin. Select ename sal.
Ename, comma, sal.
From EMP. From this table. From EMP. Where department number equals to 10. And color.
That's it.
Yeah.
How to display?
And DBMS underscore.
DBMS underscore output.
Dot put underscore line.
How to display? What to display?
Working in ename. I mean, it's a custom message. Single string, single quote. The following are the employees.
Jamal, is this select statement correct?
Yes.
Whenever you are writing a select statement in a PLC call block, select statement should have into clause.
Yeah.
Forgot? This is what happens when you don't practice. Practice is very, very important. Into 2 local variables, we need to declare 2 local variables, right? Start the declare section. V underscore ename, emp dot ename percentage type, V underscore sal, emp dot sal percentage type.
Right.
Select 2 columns into corresponding to local variables, V underscore ename, comma, V underscore sal. Next, DBMS underscore output dot put underscore line, V underscore rename. If you want, you can use concatenation operator, whatever it is, followed with vsal. Okay, so Dilavar, every select statement should have what into clause. Now, what is the output when I run this program? Can you tell me the output of this? We have employee name King and 5000, second employee name Clark and 2450, last employee name Miller and 1300. Do you get the 3 records displayed?
Yes.
Jamal, what will be the output of this program? What will be the output of this program? Exact fetch returns more than requested number of rows. What does that mean?
Too many rows.
Too many rows exception. Yes. We got a too many rows exception.
Yeah.
Got it? So,
Yeah.
so we know, so we already have mentioned this statement. When the select statements will run successfully only when it returns exactly 1 row. When it is returned no row, so it is no data found exception. When it returns more than 1 row, control enters to too many rows exception. So you know how to write a select statement which returns only 1 row. But when you're working in a projects, Dilavar, sometimes you want to run a select statement which returns more than 1 row like this. I want to display employee names and salaries to who are working in department number 10. So I want to run a select statement successfully which are returning more than 1 row. In that case, we need to go for explicit cursors. Explicit cursors, what is the need for writing an explicit cursors? And in the last session, I hope you remember, Dilavar, you have asked one question. What is the need for writing an explicit cursor? Okay. So the need for writing an explicit cursor is to run a select statement which returns more than 1 row. Am I clear?
Yeah.
That is the need for writing an explicit cursors. Okay. So the point is cursors, all the activities related to cursor, like opening, processing, closing. should be done by the developer or user. Hence these cursors are called
manual
explicit. Hence these cursors are called explicit cursors. Clear? So
Yeah.
we need to handle explicit cursors. Implicit cursors, so automatically the cursor is opened, automatically the cursor is processed, it is closed automatically. Everything is under the control of Oracle engine. That's why those kind of cursors are called implicit cursors. Explicit cursors, we need to open it, we need to process, and we need to close it. That's why this kind of cursors are called explicit cursors. And we need to follow the first steps to write an explicit cursor program. Steps for explicit cursor program. Step 1. Declare the cursor. Open the cursor. Fetch data from cursor to local variables. Close the cursor. So you need to follow 4-step process, Jamal. When you are writing an explicit cursor program, you need to declare the cursor. You need to open the cursor, fetch the data from the cursor to local variables, and close the cursor. This is a 4-step process you need to follow. Okay. Let's learn the syntax of each and every steps.
All are mandatory, huh, Sunil?
Yes. Step 1 is to declare the cursor. Cursor name is the select statement which you want to execute. Cursor name is select statement which you want to run. This is how to declare the cursor. Opening the cursor is pretty simple. Just open cursor name. Even closing the cursor is pretty simple. Close cursor name. Fetch data from cursor to local variables. For that, fetch into variable 1, variable 2, so on up to variable n. Four-step process. Declare the cursor. This is syntax. Open the cursor, fetch data from the cursor, and close the cursor. Before starting the explicit cursor program, let us have a discussion about explicit cursor attributes. Explicit cursor attributes. We have 4 explicit cursor. How many implicit cursor attributes do you remember? Dilavar, we have percentage is open, found, not found, and raw count, isn't it?
Yeah.
Same way we have 4 explicit cursor attributes. Percentage is open, we have 4 explicit cursor attributes. Let us have a discussion about the first attribute, percentage. It is a Boolean attribute. Boolean attribute. Percentage is open is a Boolean attribute. And Dilavar, when it returns true? Is open.
Is open.
When it returns true? When cursor is?
Open.
Open. Returns false. Obviously when
It is closed.
cursor is closed. Obviously. Anil Sapra upload this video. Huh? Percentage found. It is a Boolean attribute. Percentage found is a Boolean attribute. Returns true when fetch statement is successful. Returns false obviously when fetch statement fails. Percentage found is a Boolean attribute. Returns true when fetch statement is successful. Returns false when fetch statement fails. Not found. Not found, you can easily understand not found, it's negation to found. So obviously returns true when fetch statement fails. Returns false obviously when fetch statement is successful. Fourth one, percentage row count. Returns number of rows processed by the fetch statement. These are the explanation of all the 4 explicit cursor attributes. Out of these 4 attributes, Jamal, the first 3 attributes are Boolean. And row count is a number attributes because it returns the number of rows processed by the fetch statement. How can we use all these attributes? Let's understand I'll provide you all the examples of these attributes. Okay. Now, very important note. We write explicit cursor program. We use explicit cursors. When we use explicit cursors to run select statement which returns more than one row. We use explicit cursors to run select statement which returns more than one row. Clear? That is a need for writing an explicit cursor program. Okay. Now let's learn how to write an explicit cursor. So I want to write a program to display employee names and salaries working in department number 10. The moment you come to know that there are multiple employee names, there are multiple records for working for department number 10, that means you should understand that you should use the concept of explicit cursors. Now Dilavar, now for this program, if you want to display employee names and salaries working for department number 10, we should definitely use the concept of
Explicit cursor.
Explicit cursors. And if you want to write an explicit cursor program, how many steps you need to follow?
4
steps. Declare, open, fetch, and close.
Yes.
Let us follow the 4-step process and write the program. So first step is to declare the cursor. Declaration should be done in the declare section. Okay. So look at the syntax. This is the syntax. We are now following the step-by-step process. This is the syntax. As per the syntax, let's frame an example. Cursor followed the cursor name. My cursor name is C1. Is mention the select statement you want to run. As per the requirement, design the select statement you want to display. Sorry. Select ename, sal from EMP. Where department number equal to 10. Declaring the cursor is done. What is my name of the cursor, Jamal?
C1.
C1. And here you should point out the select statement which you want to run. So this is what you want to run. This is what you want to run. You want this select statement which returns 3 rows, isn't it? So I have declared my cursor. Any doubts in declaring the cursor? Dilavar?
This cursor is different from the PL SQL format, huh?
Yes, because normally in PL SQL we write into clause, isn't it?
Yeah, into, yeah.
But here it's just we are just mentioning the select statement which you want to run. We don't need a into clause in the cursor declaration.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Next. Dilavar, your select statement is returning how many columns?
2.
So we need two variables. V underscore ename, V underscore salary. So we know how to declare it. emp dot ename percentage type. Emp dot sal percentage type. Begin. The reason why you have declared two variables because your select statement is returning two columns. Next. Step 2, open cursor. In our example, the name of the cursor is step 3. Fetch data from the cursor to local variables. This is a syntax. Fetch cursor name. Jamal, the name of the cursor is
C1.
C1 into corresponding local variables. Do you have variables? Yes. Comma.
Yes, sir.
Any doubts in the fetch statement? Step 4. Declaring the cursor, step 1. Opening the cursor, step 2. Step 3. Step 4. I am done with 4-step process. So I end my program followed with slash. Clear?
Yeah. So fetching and closing will be in the begin.
Yes. Only declaration of the cursor should be in the declare section. Okay, because all the declarations we mention it in the declare section. Rest of all the steps we write it inside a executable block. Okay? Okay. Successfully I have executed. Program has been successfully completed, but where is the output? What we want is to display employee names and salaries. We are not getting the output. Now, why we are not getting the output? When you'll get the output only when you write dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. Did you write that statement? No. So when you'll get the output, I want the output. So after fetching only we need to write the output. So I write Jamal dbms underscore output dot put underscore line v ename concatenation operator followed with v sal.
Okay.
Declaring the cursor, opening the cursor, fetch statement and closing. As I want the output, I am writing the dbms output statement. Now run the program. Look at the output of the program. Jamal, the PL SQL project successfully completed. You are getting king and 5000. Is it the right output?
No.
I want to display employee names and salaries working for department number 10. Department number 10. It's not one employee.
Yes.
It's not one employee. Look at the select statement. We expect how many rows from the output? 3 rows. But your program is displaying only the first row. Second row and third row is not displayed. Let us evaluate the program. Let us evaluate the program. Okay? What exactly the problem is. This is your server. client. You're writing a 10-line program, whatever it is. You're writing a 20-line program. Let us try and learn the program execution. Jamal, program execution starts from begin. First line that gets executed is line number 12. Open C1. Now it checks what is C1. C1 is mentioned as a cursor. So when you write open C1, a memory location is created. Very, very important. When the memory location is created, whenever you open a cursor, what is the name of the memory location? The name of the memory location is C1. Dilavar. What happens when you write open statement? A memory location is created. And don't think the memory location is empty. Memory location will be loaded with the data returned by the select statement. The C1 is associated to a select statement, isn't it? So this select statement gets executed and the cursor will be filled with the data returned by the select statement. So here the cursor is filled with 3 rows and 2 columns. Let's say you have King 5000, Clark 2450, Miller 1300. Whenever you open a cursor, that is at line number 12, whenever you open a cursor, a memory location is created. A memory location is loaded with the data returned by the select statement, and there will be one cursor pointer pointing to first record. This status is called dataset, active dataset. This is called as active dataset. Active dataset is created. Okay, what is active dataset? Active dataset is nothing but a memory location loaded with the data returned by select statement having cursor pointer pointing to first record. All this will happen at line number 12. Any doubts? Next, control comes to line number 13. Fetch statement. In our program, Dilavar, we have 2 variables, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have 2 variables. We have v underscore rename as well as we have v underscore salary. We have 2 local variables. Now, line number 13, Dilavar, fetch statement will fetch the data from the cursor to the local variables. That is the job done by the fetch statement. Okay, Dilavar, fetch statement will fetch the data from the cursor to the local variables. How many rows we have in the cursor, Dilavar?
3 rows.
3 rows. Do you think fetch statement can fetch all the 3 rows at a time?
Maybe one by one.
Do you think fetch statement cannot process all the rows in the cursor? Fetch statement can process only 1 row in the cursor. Okay, so fetch statement will fetch the data from the cursor. So this local variable v underscore rename will be initialized with King. The local variable salary will be initialized with 5000. Any doubts, Jamal? This is the job done by the fetch statement. Fetch statement will fetch the data from the cursor to the variables. Cursor may have 3 rows. Do you think all the 3 rows are processed? No, only 1 row is processed. Obviously first row, because the cursor pointer points to first row. Any doubts? Next. Control comes to line number 15. dbms underscore output dot put line, vname and salary, King and 5000 are the values. Finally, after line number 15, closing the cursor. Jamal, closing is nothing but clearing the memory location. This memory location is cleared and the program has been completed. That's why you're getting only first record. Here we are getting only 1 row because fetch statement can fetch only 1 row at a time. Now, Dilavar, how many rows you want how many times you want the fetch statement to be executed? 3 times. So I make some changes in the program. Look at the changes. Fetch statement fetching the first line, printing the first line.
Again, this one.
As we have 3 records in the cursor, I am writing fetch statement how many times? They'll have 3 times.
How will I be knowing that there are 3 records?
As I have practically shown you, 1 minute. Let me complete this.
Okay.
Are you able to now successfully write a PL/SQL program to display all the employee names and salaries working for department number 10? Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Now here, how many times the fetch statement is executed? 3 times. We have executed fetch statement 3 times because your cursor is having 3 rows. If the cursor is having 10 rows, we cannot expect developer to write 10 fetch statements, isn't it? So whenever you want the multiple lines, a set of lines to be executed multiple number of times, we use the concept of loops.
Oops. And
Loop and end loop. The statements inside the loop will be executed multiple number of times. Every loop should have exit when condition. We know otherwise it becomes an indefinite loop. Jamal.
yeah. Okay.
When do you want to break the loop? Only after all the rows are processed. If there are 3 rows, 3 rows should be processed. If there are 100 rows, 100 rows should be processed. I want to break the loop only after all the rows are processed. For that we use an attribute C1% not found attribute. We had a discussion about explicit cursor attributes. We use not found attribute. I'll explain how the not found attribute will work, but I have make some changes in my program. Fetch statement and DBMS statement I'm writing inside a loop because we want it to execute multiple number of times. Every loop should have exit when condition, otherwise it becomes an indefinite loop. The condition which I'm writing is C1% not found. Let's run the program. Are you able to display all the employee names and salaries working for department number 10? Yes. Now let's evaluate how the program will work. Jamal, program execution starts from begin. Line number 12 gets executed. First open cursor. What happens when we open a cursor? A memory location is created. Memory location is loaded with the data returned by the select statement. And there will be one cursor pointer pointing to first record. All these steps will happen, all these activities will happen at line number 12. All these activities will happen at line number 12. Any doubts at line number 12?
That's fine.
Control enters to the loop. Fetch statement will be executed. Fetch statement deliver. Cursor is having 3 records. Fetch statement can fetch only 1 record at a time. So King and 5000 will be loaded into the local variables. So this is successful. Fetch statement is fetching the first record. After that, control comes to line number 16. Exit when C1% not found. Let's understand about this not found attribute. It is a Boolean attribute. Not found is a Boolean attribute. It returns true. Look at the explanation of the not found attribute. Boolean attribute. Returns true when fetch statement fails. For the first time, is that fetch statement failing? Jamal, for the first time? First time fetch statement will not fail. Fetch statement is successful. Second time also fetch statement will be successful. Third time also fetch statement will be successful. When the fetch statement will fail for the 4th time. Okay?
Yes.
So, for the first time, fetch statement is successful. It returns true when fetch statement fails. It is not returning true, so loop will not break. First line is printed. Next, control comes to again beginning of the loop. Second time fetch statement will be executed. Not found will return true when fetch statement fails. Second time fetch statement is not failing. So dbms underscore output line second record is printed. Third time fetch statement will execute it. Third time, third line is printed. Fourth time fetch statement will be executed. There is no data to fetch. As there is no data to fetch, fetch statement will fail for the fourth time. Control comes to line number 16. Exit when C1 percentage not found. Returns true when fetch statement fails. Fourth time fetch statement is failing, so it returns true. The loop will break. When the loop will break, remaining lines of code will not get executed. Closing the cursor, and finally you are able to display all the employee names, and Sal is working for department number 10. Clear? Is this clear? How to write an explicit cursor program? You should write a four-step process: declare, open, fetch, close. Just a minute, I'm sorry, 1 minute please.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
I'm back. Jamal, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So this is how we should write a cursor program, explicit cursor program, to run select statements which returns more than one row. Okay, is it complicated, Jamal?
Yeah.
Dilaver?
Okay.
Yeah, we have to understand the sequence. We have to think in a practical way. Then only we can understand where we have to write the
Yes.
exit, where we have to align the end loop like that, when we have to close the cursor. So we have to
Exactly.
understand. Yeah.
You need to practice. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, Sunil, the main purpose of cursor is if whatever the updates we are doing, select or updates we are doing, whether it is updating or not, that is the only the um, reason for having the cursors.
Which cursor you're talking about? Implicit cursor or explicit cursor?
Explicit.
No, that is not the reason. Explicit cursors we write when should we declare the cursor? When we should write open the cursor, not for update commands. Okay, update commands we can run successfully without cursor also. Look at this, Dilaver. Successful. Now wherever department number 30 is there, salary is 2000. Am I right?
Yeah.
Dilaver?
Yeah.
So do we read explicit cursors for update command? No, not at all. When we need write explicit cursors, when we should follow these steps? Only for select statements. Only for select statements. If you don't use cursor, okay, what will happen? When it will enter into too many rows exception. It enters into a too many rows exception. Without exception, if you want to successfully run a select statement which returns more than one row, then only you should go for writing a explicit cursor program.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Shall we try one more example?
Yeah. This cursors are required when we are, bringing some data from the base table to some other
Yeah,
interface table.
yes, it is
Okay.
required very much.
Hmm.
Dilavar,
Yeah.
WAP, write a program, okay, to display invoice ID, comma, invoice number. The two columns, one is invoice ID, the other one is invoice number. For the vendor, ID 11.
Yeah.
First, you should check for the vendor ID 11 how many invoice IDs are there and how many invoice numbers are there. Let's write a select step. Select invoice ID, comma, invoice number from the table AP invoices all where vendor ID equal to of one specific vendor. 5,303 records. Okay, let's say not slow level for what, let's say for vendor ID 2. 067 for vendor ID 1. I'm looking for a vendor which is having only hundreds of records rather than thousands of records. Does not make a difference. Okay. I want for the vendor ID 1. For vendor ID 1, how many invoices are there for this particular vendor? How many invoices IDs and how many invoice numbers? You have 1,697 rows. You want to display 1,967 invoice IDs and invoice numbers. Whenever you want to display, you want to write a select statement which returns more than one row. In that case, we should write a cursor program. Okay. Shall we start? Jamal and Dilavar?
Yeah.
Declare. How to declare the cursor? Syntax, I have it.
Cursor name C2.
Cursor name. Cursor name can be again C1. Don't think that last time we have used C1, we should write C2 now. Cursor name is local to the program. Is write the select statement which you want to run. What select statement you want to run? This one. Select, copy, paste. Any doubts? Jamal, any doubts in declaring the cursor?
Fine.
Next, Dilavar, how many variables you need?
Two variables.
V underscore invoice underscore ID, V underscore invoice underscore number. How to write the data type and size? Table name dot column name percentage type. AP invoices all dot invoice ID
Percentage.
percentage type.
Okay.
AP invoices all dot invoice num percentage. Any doubts?
Sunil, we couldn't have used the alias.
We should not. Sorry.
No, I mean, we can declare that as a AP invoices all as a alias, no? I mean that table alias, and then we cannot use as a
When what is the advantage of table alias? Only for joining purpose, isn't it? When you're joining
yeah.
from EMP, comma DPD, where if you, this is not a join query, is it? This is normal select statement, isn't it? So we
Yeah.
don't need table alias. Okay.
Okay, no, I mean just
Remember,
writing
we
this,
use table aliases for
yeah, joining purpose.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it is not required.
No, not required, but even if we take it, I mean, will it have any, I mean,
Effect. There is no effect. For example, from AP invoices all, the table aliases are example AIA. So where we should use it? Is there any where clause or is it a from clause?
so
If there are
what I'm,
multiple tables, then it will be effective.
I mean, when we are declaring the data type and giving the table name there, the writing a big name, we cannot use AIA dot
No.
invoice.
Table aliases are local to the select statement. You cannot table alias in the next query or something like that, isn't it? Isn't it?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so it is local.
Okay, fine.
Declaring the cursor is done. Jamal, what is the next step?
To open cursor. Second step.
What is the next step? We have declared the cursor. Compare it to the previous program. We have declared two local variables. Next is to
Open. Open cursor.
okay. And how many variables we have declared, Jamal? Two variables. Why two variables? Because your select statement is selecting only two columns. If the select statement is selecting 5 columns, in that case you need to declare 5 variables. Number of variables should always be matching with the number of columns written by the select statement.
Right.
Next. Fetch statement should execute multiple number of times. How many number of times the fetch statement should execute? 1,697 times. So we should write a loop. Every loop should have and loop. Write the fetch statement. Fetch C1 into corresponding local variables v underscore invoice underscore ID, v underscore invoice underscore number. Fetch cursor name into corresponding local variables. Exit when what attribute C1 percentage, what attribute we use Jamal for breaking the loop?
Not
Not found. We use DBMS output statement. Loop and loop fetch statement DBMS exit when condition. Finally, shall we run, Jamal?
yes.
Oh, here buffer overflow because more than 1000, but you can see we have successfully executed a select statement which returns more than one row. Okay,
Okay.
buffer is not supporting.
How many buffer it will allow?
So here buffer is not supporting because we are writing DBMS underscore output line, but practically we don't use DBMS underscore put line. We process the data as per the requirement. But I hope you are now understanding how to run a select statement which is returning more than one row. Okay.
Yeah.
Dilavar, why we are getting this error? Buffer overflow. There will be only limited of 2000 bytes. When the buffer is filled, you get an error. Buffer is filled because of this DBMS underscore output statements. Okay,
Because sometimes
clear?
there is more than 1,000.
Jamal cannot hear you.
The row size is more than 1,000, right?
2000 bytes.
No, row size of the row size. You are showing at the number of rows. It is more than 1,000, right?
Rows are number of rows. How many the select? If you ask for the select statement,
169.
1697 rows. Rows
Yeah.
are different and bytes are different. Okay,
Okay.
this is 2000 bytes. Okay, 2000 bytes are full, so you're not getting the data to be displayed. Okay, so this is. I hope you are now clear. The need for writing a select statement. Jamal, what is the need for writing a select statement to run a? Sorry, need for writing an explicit cursor is to run a select statement which returns more than one record. Clear, clear. Shall we try one more example?
Only one cursor can be declared in one procedure?
No, we can have multiple cursors. We can open one cursor, close one again, and second open the second cursor. Yeah, let's say if you want to run two select statements, you can declare two cursors. Okay.
Okay.
You want an example of two cursors?
Yeah. Can we take two cursors as if I mean C1 as a select and can we go for any? I mean, okay, it is meant for select only. If
Cursor
it
is
is
meant only for select statement. If you
select,
want to write an update or delete, we don't need a cursor at all. Directly you can write it in a PL SQL block running successfully. Okay, only select statements will give an error, isn't it? For that purpose, we use the concept of cursors.
yeah.
So
Suppose now my C1. Sorry. Can I? I mean, now we have two columns here from the PM in AP invoices all table. Can this be inserted? I mean,
into other table,
another table along
yes.
with the
Let's
cream.
now here actually we are getting an error because of DBMS buffer overflow error, isn't it? Instead of buffer overflow error, instead of avoiding DBMS underscore output line, what we do will create one custom table, one temporary table. Shall we insert all these 1600 rows into the new table?
Yeah, yeah, fine. Yeah,
Create table. Let's name the temple. Let's name the table as
XX.
xx underscore test is a temporary table. Okay, which has two columns. Let's say
Both sides.
one is ID.
Yeah.
What shall be the data type? What is the invoice ID data type? Number of 15.
Yeah.
Next column name is num. Invoice num data type varchar2 of 50. Table created. Right now the table is empty. Instead of DBMS output statement, I comment this. What we write? V underscore.
We cannot use the variable. Oh, okay.
I think we can.
Yeah, yeah. We are writing the.
After inserting all the rows, I want to insert the rows permanently, so I use the command commit. We know we can write a commit inside a PL SQL block. Shall we run this now? Successfully completed. Next.
Yeah.
Select star from.
X test.
All the rows which are there in the cursor have been loaded into the temporary table. 16,1697. How many rows are there in the cursor?
Yeah,
Same rows.
correct.
1697. Got it? So,
Yeah.
I hope you now understood the purpose of a cursor. Cursor is meant for select statement to process multiple number of records.
Right.
Jamal, clear?
Good. Any limitation of this?
No limitation. Nothing.
I mean, any
Okay.
kind of drawback of using the cursors?
No. This is the only option we have it. Okay, this is the concept. We should use it whenever you want to run select statement which returns more than one. Let's write one more program. This is important. Write a program to display all the details of department table. What do you mean by all the details? All the rows and all the columns. Department table is having 3 columns and 4 rows. I want all the complete information to be displayed. Whenever you want to display complete information, so when you want to display more than one row, Jamal, we need to write a cursor program. Okay? Shall we start writing the cursor program?
Yeah. We can declare.
Jamal, how to declare the cursor?
Cursor name?
Cursor name is select statement. Select, how to write the select statement?
Select star from.
Perfect. Next. How many variables?
1, 2, 3.
3 variables. V department number, V dname, V location.
Yeah.
Table name dot department number percentage type. Table name dot dname percentage type. Table name dot location percentage type. Step 2.
Open. Open cursor.
Loop. Step 3.
C1.
Into
Variables.
exit when condition.
With one
C1 percentage.
dot home.
To print it.
DB.
Close. Declare step 1. Open step 2. Fetch statement step 3. Close step 4. Are you able to display all the data from the department table? Perfect. Jamal, clear?
Yeah.
Is it difficult or easy?
Practice.
Jamal,
See,
It's
the
simple,
table,
isn't it?
yeah, I have a question here. We are pitching, sorry, in a pitch command, we are pitching three variables, right?
Yes.
On a department table. The department table is having three rows.
3 columns.
Sorry, three columns.
So
Okay.
as we have 3 columns, we have declared 3 variables and fetching the data into 3 variables.
So instead of typing three variables here, can we write a command that without writing the variables, like the full table, one command?
Without writing the local variables, you want to?
I mean, yeah, without declaring the variable, because since we are taking it in a department table.
Okay. Okay.
You got my question?
I understood. I understood. Now look here. I can improve this program. Jamal, I can improve this program. We have declared 3 variables. Instead of 3 variables, do you remember we have a row type variable which can store 1 row in the table?
Yeah. Okay.
We have a row type variable. I hope you remember. I declare one variable name A. Variable name A, table name, percentage, row type. Only one variable. Next, fetch C1 into A. Because row type variable can store 1 row of the department table. As we have learned, it will store 1 row of the department table. It's a row type variable. Next, dbms underscore output. We don't have these variables. You should write row type variable name dot column name you want to refer to. A dot department number, A dot D name, A dot location. Is your program running successfully? Yes. I have not declared 3 independent variables. Instead of declaring 3 independent variables, I have declared one row type variable, and one row type variable will fetch, can store 1 row of a table, and I'm storing it and accessing using the table row type variable name dot column name. This is how we can improve the code. Any doubts?
Right.
Okay. Cursor program consists of 4 steps. Declare the cursor, open the cursor, fetch and closing. Is it difficult or easy, Dilavar?
Yeah, it is easy.
First time you looks to be a bit confusing, but when you start practicing a couple of times, it is easy, isn't it?
yeah,
See,
you'll enjoy.
open fetch is only one line statements. You should declare and mention what select statement you want and write fetch statement. That's it.
Yeah. It's
Jamal?
fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
An exit condition is also not found. So all these are in the reserve words kind of. Only just select.
Yeah. Just select statement, it changes as per your requirement.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we will test Dilavar if he will remember.
Okay, fine. Now look here. We are now learning a new concept called cursor for loops. We are now learning a new concept called cursor for loops. It is shortcut way of a cursor program. When we use cursor for loops, following steps.
So there is a shortcut. Why didn't we go first on the shortcut?
Following steps are not required. When you use the cursor for loops, following steps are not required. Opening cursor, Not required. Closing the cursor. Not required. Exit when condition
Also not required.
not required.
Don't write cursor is not required. Huh?
Statement not required.
Cursor itself is not required or what?
Declaring variables not required.
So where is the cursor?
So all these steps are not required. All these steps are not required when you are writing cursor for loops. We have 4 steps: declare, open, fetch, and close. Opening not required, closing not required, fetch is not required. Only thing what is required is declaring the cursor, because you should mention what select statement you want to execute. So for that, declaring the cursor is required. Rest of all the steps are not required. So Jamal, as you said, it is very difficult for you. Explicit cursor programs will make you very, very comfortable. Okay, so we rewrite the program, the previous program, we rewrite it about using the cursor for loops. Before starting a cursor for loop example, quick recap of for loops. I hope you remember the for loops concept.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Begin. In 1 to 5. That means, Jamal, how many times the loop will execute?
5 times. Please, huh?
Quick recap of cursor for loops. Program execution starts from begin. Program execution starts from begin. First welcome is printed. For the variable a in 1 to 5, that means the loop will execute for 5 times. Hello1, hello2 is printed 5 times. And then you get a message, thank you. Semicolon missing. Dilavar, are you there?
Yeah, yeah.
How many times the loop will execute? 5 times.
5
Let us
times
see.
and then, yeah.
Okay. And the variable a is called loop variable. One important advantage, I hope you remember Jamal and Dilavar, in for loops, the loop variable is automatically declared. I remove the declare section, but still the program will run successfully. Is the program running successfully? Did I declare the variable a? Jamal, I have not declared the variable, but still the program is running successfully. This is the benefit of for loops. In for loops, whatever the variable write after the keyword for that gets implicitly declared. Okay?
Yeah.
Remember this point. Now, we are now writing an explicit cursor program, rewriting the program, rewriting the previous program, displaying all the information of department table using the cursor for loops, the shortcut way. Opening cursor not required. Can I remove this line?
Yeah. Can you
Closing the
Sorry?
cursor not, yes?
Instead of removing, just highlight, huh?
Comment it.
Ah, okay, fine. Yeah.
Anyways, we have, as a reference, we have the previous program, isn't it?
Yeah.
I have
No, I
copy
mean,
paste.
just want to see what is the actual size.
Okay, okay. I have commented it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll recommend it again. Don't worry, Dilavar. First, let me remove the code. Opening the cursor not required. Closing the cursor not required. Next. Exit when condition not required. Fetch statement not required.
Yeah.
Declaring the variables not required. Okay. We need DBMS output statement, otherwise we will not get the output. So declaring the cursor, begin. Loop is required because you want the DBMS statement to be executed multiple number of times. Okay. So this is cursor for loops concept, isn't it? For loops concept. So you need to use the for loop syntax. For variable A in, generally we write 1 to 5 if you want to execute 5 times. But you are not sure whether it is 5 times or 10 times. So for A in C1, that means for all the rows which are there in the cursor. Generally we write for variable A in 1 to 5 if you want to execute 5 times, but we don't know whether it is 5 times or 10 times. You want the loop to be executed for all the rows which are there in the cursor. So for a variable A in C1, that means the loop will execute for all the rows which are there in the cursor. The record variable name dot column name, whatever you want to print. And now look at the output of the program. Are you able to run successfully? Yes, by writing a shortcut way that is called cursor for loops. Okay. Automatic opening, automatic closing, automatic processing of the fetch statement, everything is handled by itself. Developer in the real time, everyone will use cursor for loops only. Jamal, you had a query. What is that query? Without can we write the program without declaring the 3 variables? Yes, I have not declared the 3 variables, but my program is running successfully.
Yeah.
This is called as cursor for loops. Okay, clear? So this is all about the need for a cursor. We need cursors to run what statements? Select statements which can process more than one row. Okay.